Welcome to the Interstellar Sleep Archives. I am the archivist, an individual with a name of no importance, a quiet traveler gathering bedtime stories from distant species, cultures, and civilizations across the galaxy, in order to understand the hearts of those who dwell among the stars. Every culture teaches its children what matters most through stories told before sleep, tales that reveal the hidden values of a civilization. Some stories teach patience, some teach honor, others teach the quiet, necessary art of survival. Each night, the archivist reveals a tale from the Interstellar Sleep Archives. Tonight's record from the archives is classified as Alpha Quadrant Cultural Narratives, subclassification Youth Instructional Tales. This entry comes from the Prytt of Kesprytt 3, a people who share their world but not their trust. Cultural context. To understand a Prytt story, one must be careful not to mistake caution for fear. On Kesprytt 3, there was once a time, long before living memory, when there was no division, no boundary fields, no sealed doors, only a single people. What followed is remembered only in fragments and referred to as the Great Division. The details are incomplete, the accounts inconsistent. But among the Prytt, one interpretation remains enduring. That trust, once given too freely, cannot always be reclaimed. That connection, once opened without control, can change a people permanently. And that survival, in the end, may require separation. The Kes, who share the same world, remember this history differently. They chose engagement. The Prytt chose certainty. And in their stories, the lesson is not how to connect, but how to remain secure. And now, without further ado, the Interstellar Sleep Archives presents the bedtime story, Hay Closed the Door for a Reason, a Prytt bedtime story, on a quiet evening, beneath a sky that revealed only what it was permitted to reveal. A young Prytt child named Tarev sat beside his mother. Their dwelling was silent, orderly, secure. The walls were reinforced, the air regulated, and the door sealed, as it always was. Tarev had been quieter than usual. This, too, was noticed. Earlier that cycle, during instruction, a concept had been introduced. Carefully, briefly, and without elaboration. Historical divergence. It had not been discussed. It had not been questioned. But it had remained. Now, seated beside his mother, Tarev hesitated. Once, then again. "Mother," he began, then stopped. His mother did not interrupt. She completed her inspection of the entry seal. Once, and then again, as protocol required. Only when it was complete did she turn to him. "Yes," Tarev chose his words carefully. In instruction today, they referenced a time before the boundaries. A pause. They did not elaborate. His mother regarded him for a moment, not with suspicion, but with assessment, measured, deliberate. "You are progressing in your studies." It was not praise, simply recognition. "There are concepts," she continued, "that are introduced only when a child is prepared to understand them, without misinterpretation. Historical divergence is one of such concept." Tarev straightened slightly. He understood what was being given. "Access. There is a story," she said quietly, "that is shared when one is ready to understand not just our systems, but the reason they exist." Tarev leaned closer, not out of excitement, but focus. "It is a story from before the Great Division." The words carried weight. Before the boundaries, there lived a family who believed that openness was strength. A pause. They were not alone in that belief. Tarev listened carefully. This was not unfamiliar. "One evening," she continued, "their child, much like you, noticed a signal beyond their settlement. A presence, not Prytt, not known, but not immediately threatening." Tarev's eyes narrowed slightly. Was it verified? His mother's expression remained composed. They believed understanding would come through contact. The room grew quieter. The child asked to respond, not recklessly, not without awareness, but with curiosity. Tarev shifted. And they permitted it? His mother met his gaze. They opened the channel. The words settled with quiet finality. At first, nothing changed. The exchange was limited, measured, even cautious. They believed they remained in control. Tarev's fingers curled slightly. But control can be lost, without being noticed. His mother inclined her head. Just so. The signals continued, small variations, minor inconsistencies, nothing that could be clearly defined as a threat. She tapped lightly against his temple. But ideas are insidious. They do not require confirmation to take hold. Tarev's voice was quieter now. What ideas? A pause. That perhaps safety exists. That the boundary was unnecessary. The words lingered. Unstable. Others began to consider it, quietly, carefully. As you did. Her tone remained even. But consideration can become belief. Tarev looked toward the sealed door, recognizing the danger associated with that statement. What followed? The connection deepened, and deeper still, and the people changed. Not dramatically, not all at once, but enough. They trusted more easily, verified less. They began to assume that what appeared harmless was harmless. Her hand rested lightly on his shoulder, and when the threat revealed itself, it was no longer outside. Tarev's voice was barely audible. Where was it? His mother held his gaze. Within. Silence followed. Complete and utter silence. Systems failed, judgment faltered, unity fractured. And by the time they understood the errors of their ways, the damage had already been done. Tarev considered this carefully. Was this the cause of the Great Division? His mother's response was precise. It is the understanding that remains, not the only one, but the one that endured. What happened next? They separated. After the Great Division, some chose to remain blind, to continue believing connection could be managed. Others chose the security that comes from certainty. Son, our ancestors were wise. Boundaries were established, systems enforced, and then reinforced. Doors were closed, and later sealed. Even the water, light, and air remain regulated, and thus protected. Her voice lowered slightly. Because once something enters, unnoticed, it is not easily removed. Tarev looked again at the sealed door. It no longer felt like a restriction. It felt like design. And the others? They continue to engage in what they describe as neutral, carefully neutral. Tarev hesitated once more. Do they remain safe? His mother did not answer directly. Instead, she said, the door remains closed, for a reason. Tarev nodded. He understood. Not everything that invites connection offers safety. Not everything that appears harmless remains so. And not every shared past leads to a shared future. That night, as he lay beneath a sky carefully filtered for his protection, Tarev did not dream of what lay beyond the boundary. He dreamed of the moment before it, the moment the channel was opened, and of the choice never to open it again. And so in closing, on Kesprytt 3, the Prytt teach their children a different lesson. For the Prytt, connection is not strength, unless it can be controlled. For the Prytt, trust is not virtue, unless it can be verified. For the Prytt, survival does not require openness. It requires distance. In this way, the Prytt do not seek to understand what lies beyond their borders or beyond their homeworld. They seek only to ensure that it does not enter. This has been another entry from the Interstellar Sleep Archives. Tonight's bedtime story shows us that, while some cultures teach their children to open doors, others teach them to keep them closed, no matter what waits on the other side. Of course, one might argue that both are forms of survival, but that would depend entirely on what you believe is waiting for you in the dark. If you enjoyed this story, consider liking the video and subscribing to the archive. It helps ensure that more stories like this continue to reach you. If not, tune in tomorrow. The Interstellar Sleep Archives contains many more tales. Tomorrow's tale may intrigue, fascinate, or resonate with you. And now, the archivist seeks your guidance. Tell me, which civilization should we explore next? The loyal Romulans? The gravity-defying Elaysians? Or the silence-loving Lurians? Choose carefully. After all, every story you hear is shaping you, whether you notice it or not. Sleep well, fellow travelers.